Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the Spectrum podcast, a show that is brought to you from Bloom Garden Schools, which is a leading institution for learning, therapy, research for children with autism. Here, we take time to delve into the whole aspect of autism and what it all entails in the Kenyan context as well. We are so glad to have you on board, and we are grateful that you are able to join us in our first episode. And here again we are to bring to you the second episode of Beyond the Spectrum podcast.
Genetics or heredity has been shown over time through research that it is one of the contributing factors.
But basically nowadays we know some of the causes. It might be genetic or it also might be environmental. Environmental comes into our lifestyles. We've kind of changed a little bit, which brings the lifestyle diseases, the diabetes that we know. Obesity also comes in because of their lifestyle.
Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the Spectrum podcast, a show that is brought to you from Bloom Garden Schools, which is a leading institution for learning, therapy, research for children with autism. Here, we take time to delve into the whole aspect of autism and what it all entails in the Kenyan context as well. We are so glad to have you on board, and we are grateful that you are able to join us in our first episode. And here again we are to bring to you the second episode of Beyond the Spectrum podcast. Yet again, I am joined by a wonderful set of panelists, my colleagues, who would actually help us to understand in broad perspective what really is it that is causing autism. But before we get into it all, allow them to just introduce themselves, then we can pick it up from there. I can start from my immediate right.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm a special needs educator based at Bloom Garden Schools, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Asante sana mwalimu. We are glad to have you.
Yes.
Can go to Natalie yet again.
Hello everyone, glad to be here. I'm a special needs education teacher at Bloom Garden Schools.
Hi everyone, I'm Wangari Catherine, a special needs educator. I'm happy to be here with these beautiful panelists, and we're also happy for you to hear what we have to say. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, my colleagues. And without a doubt, I am your host, Ronald Nyawade. I am an occupational therapist as well. I practice with the Bloom Garden Schools, and it's quite a joy that we are actually part and parcel of this as well. So as you all understand, we have been through this journey together. And our first episode, we had some time to just look at what really is autism. But now we are here yet again to just help our viewers to understand then what is this that is causing autism. What does research says at the moment as we speak? As you all understand, when you look at the research, and especially in the developed countries, you'll actually understand that it is stipulated that that in 1 in 32 children in the developed countries actually have autism as we speak right now. The question is it that the prevalence is a result of better diagnostic criteria, or autism is actually in the increase as well? I think we could start with you, Mr. Michael. I don't know what you have to say about that.
You're right in that recently we've been saying there has been a spike in the number of kids who are being found as being within the autism spectrum. And there are a number of factors that can be attributed to that spike. And one of them, just as you said, is that there has been a lot of improvements in the area of diagnosis. Not only the improvements, but also changes in the criteria of diagnosis. So this means that with the improvements and with a lot of information also being circulated, people are more aware in that if a parent or if educators or whoever it is, caregivers, they are now able to pick those warning signs, they're able to pick red flags. And after picking the red flags because of the of information being in the public domain, a lot of kids receive diagnosis early. That is the concept of early identification, leading to early diagnosis, which never used to be the case before.
Yeah.
So information is contributing because right now nearly everyone knows or seems to know someone who has a child with autism, or many people can tell based on now the behaviors of a child, or maybe the development of a child. Many people are able to even speculate and say, based on what I'm observing, there is a possibility or high chances that this child is on the autism spectrum because there's information which is arising from, improved diagnosis criteria. Yeah.
Wow, I think that is quite something. I think we'll be able to come back to you in a few minutes' time. But allow me to just move on to Madam Wangare, if you do not mind. If someone asked you today and they are categorical that you give them the reasons why we are having autism or what causes autism, I don't know what you'd have in mind from the word go. I know there's always that temptation of telling them the cause is unknown, which is something, but of course we have contributory factors you could share with us.
I know earlier we used to say there is no known cause of autism, but basically nowadays we know some of the causes. It might be genetic, or it also might be environmental. And environmental comes into our lifestyles. We've kind of changed a little bit, which brings the lifestyle diseases, the diabetes that we know. Obesity also comes in because of their lifestyle. Pollution in the environment has increased. As you know, even as you live, as you walk to your home, you'll find where you're walking, it's kind of highly polluted, which is also one of the causes of autism. The pesticides we are using, we are actually using a lot of chemicals nowadays, is usually one of the causes. Actually also comes in also to how, again, during birth, those are some of the causes we also look into, low birth weight. And when we come back to genetics, again, it all again amounts to the genes. So if someone in your family had such a case, to some degree, someone again in your family will have to have the same case called autism. So mostly genetics, environmental.
You mentioning the genetic context makes me want to ask Mr. Michael a little bit about it all and how he would try to put that into perspective. But before that, Natalie, I understand you in your day-to-day activities, you keep on assessing kids and interact with kids with autism. Somebody might be asking, probably somebody who has not yet viewed our first episode, which would highly recommend that you actually go and view that episode because it will have a strong build-up on what we are discussing right now. But just a reminder, as we get back to Mr. Michael on the genetic contributions, is how would you, what are some of the things that our parents can look for as far as the criteria for diagnosis of autism is concerned? So you could help us just review that briefly, then we can get back to the genetic presentations.
Okay, before I outline the maybe the characteristic of what you have to look out of, it's not a diagnosis assessment because we are not supposed to give the diagnosis. So the right person, I think, also parents should go to, the first person should be a neurologist. So when they come to us, we already know what we are looking at and we already know how to help this child. So maybe the symptoms that I've seen through and what I've seen when I'm working with these kids, they fall under the three triads. For example, a child comes in and you're assessing them. Let me use child X and child Y. So child X has repetitive behavior. They have difficulty in interacting with others socially. So what you're looking at, the social aspect, are these pragmatic skills. For example, they come into the class, they greet their friends, or they come into class and greet their teachers, or when they're leaving for home, are they saying bye-bye? So those are social interactions that we are looking at. So if a child has a deficit of this, and the other thing is if they are not able to communicate, meaning communicate for their needs. This means, are they communicating using sign language or expressive, which the verbal language, or gestures, or signs, and also the repetitive behavior, which is restricting them from doing daily activities. So if child X falls under these, we can say they're autistic. Then we have child Y. They're able to communicate socially. You see, they are giving gestures, but that is the social interaction part. The child, let me use maybe a hearing impaired child. So when they are new, the child will not communicate. Yeah. So we've not stayed for them long. We'll think they're autistic.
Yeah.
But it's because we've not maybe gotten the audiology report. Then as time goes by, you see this child is trying to communicate through gestures. Then we see there's no repetitive behavior. Then the other thing, so the child has communication, has social interaction, and there's no repetitive behavior. Or when we say repetitive behavior, it's there through maybe them being rude, because it's kind of a way of defensive mechanism towards the person who is not getting them. So you say it's a behavior. So that's how you differentiate.
Yeah, I think that is true. And I know the concept of behavior is quite something as far as autism and children with special needs are actually concerned. You notice that most kids would communicate through some behaviors. It only takes someone who literally knows to be able to understand that whatever Natalie is sharing is actually a behavior and not literally the rudeness as how people would put it out. So I think that was quite important. I would just love to reinforce what she said. We do not give you this information so that you can go on when you walk around and you say, this child is autistic, this is it, you're ruling it out. As a matter of fact, you actually advocate for people following the right procedures. When you come here, for instance, we'll be able to ask you, do you have a neurologist assessment of this condition being ruled out? Would ask you questions of how you've been able to rule other things, whether it is ENT specialist report or something of that sort. So thank you so much, Natalie, for that. I think it is quite important to always have those reviews so that people understand where we're actually coming from. Back to you, Mwalimu. This whole issue of the genetic contributor as far as autism is concerned. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Well, genetics or heredity has been shown over time through research that it is one of the contributing factors when it comes now to causes of autism. This is made through observations where you find a number of cases of autism in the same family, or you find that like a child has autism, and then down along the line you find siblings also having autistic tendencies. So that one is used to justify the contribution of heredity or genetics in regards to cases of autism. The other one is, which is still strongly linked to heredity, is genetic mutations, where mutations or change in structure of certain genes has been shown as one of the things again that contribute to kids having autistic traits. Though the one for genetic mutations, it accounts for just a small percentage. Then there's the one where you find if a child is put in certain environments that deny them certain sensations or certain where they're understimulated, so to speak, it also has been shown to lead to the occurrence or manifestation of not genetic, but autistic tendencies.
Yeah.
Like a scenario where a child is denied opportunities for socialization, exposure to too much screen time. And that's why these days we hear of some people talking about virtual autism, a scenario where maybe children under 3 are exposed to too much screen time, which means that they lack the opportunity to interact with someone, they lack the opportunity to exercise their language skills, communication skills, interactive skills. And in the end, by the time maybe the child is 3.5, they're already behaving as though, or they're already having or meeting the basic threshold of being on the autism spectrum.
That is quite something. I know there are parents who try giving guesses of there were some years where the Cocomelon and all those cartoon things was quite something and rampant. We do not have quite a lot of good clarity in terms of research even here in Kenya as far as the virtual thing is concerned. But yes.
Yeah, actually, there's I think there's some weight in that.
Okay.
Because when you look at how people got out of COVID and the effect of COVID-19 on children who were born around that time, you look at them today and see there are quite some gaps in their milestones and critical milestones. In terms of their language, they may not be having the best expressive, language skills. Their kids were not as interactive as kids who were born before or kids who were born after, because they were born at a time when there was very little interaction, at a time when just families used to keep to themselves. Kids never used to attend school. And as a result of that, when you look at that cohort, you see a lot of gaps in their developments. And some of them actually have a lot of traits that are actually similar to traits of autistic kids, which means that lack of exposure in a way contributes to kids having delays in their critical milestones. The milestones we look at when now we are trying to do to run an autism diagnosis.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mwalimu, for that. And I think that is where we actually would recommend a lot of the need for most parents and the society to be alert on how much exposure you give to your child as far as screen time is concerned. I know we would say we really need to cut it down as much as possible, because I think we are coming to a point where we have to appreciate that even that lighting that is coming from that screen is some sensory input on its own. And too much of it, similarly, is actually poisonous and causes a number of things here and there. Madam Wangari, are we ingesting just too much toxins and chemicals and the environmental issues that we are having as a contributory factor?
We are. Actually, nowadays we live in an environment where industries are surrounding us. A while back, industries will be in a certain area, but now we are living with the industries around us. The waste, how we dispose of our waste has changed, and actually that has also been a very big contributor to even the other special needs that are also happening apart from autism. So that one needs to change.
It does.
It really needs to change. So with a lot of us creating awareness, number one, and also as a community learning how to, just to know how what we are doing is affecting other people.
Thank you for that. I don't know if you have anything to add as far as research is concerned, Madam Natalie, to that particular perspective.
None that I know of.
Okay. I think that is fine. Let me get back to you, Mwalimu. I know I love joking with the aging thing. How people would put a lot of effort on too old, many problems. but I don't know what you have to say. For me, I have had people say life starts at 40
Yes.
and such like stories. I don't know what you have to say as far as aging and children with special needs and now narrowing down to autism is actually concerned.
Okay. When you read materials and literature about the right time to get kids, you'll always see that people are normally discouraged from becoming parents from a certain age. And we usually say, as far as the whole of this thing is concerned, we know that maybe for moms, we can say 43, 45, that is a risk kind of you know, how do I put it? That's a risky age. For fathers 50 and above, 60. So the age of parents actually is a key determining factor, because the older the parents, the higher the risk of those parents getting a child who has special needs. For as far as autism is concerned, it is said the age of the father at the time of conception is a key factor. Beyond a certain age, there are high possibilities of fathers getting kids who are on the autism spectrum. So the thing of life starting at 40, maybe, I don't know, it is another areas another area
of these
maybe getting babies. We know the earlier the better. The earlier the better. But of course, we know there are certain factors that are beyond people's control. But again, what we can say is that the earlier the better.
Sure. The earlier the better it is. And I think that is why we are actually here. And so that is what we advocate as Bloom schools. Yes, the earlier the better. Can't repeat that any further. Anyway, Madam Natalie, back to you again. Your experience as a special needs teacher. We are speaking about the necessity for doing things early, but I know you have something to say as far as these conditions are concerned. As far as autism is concerned, what do you advocate for as a teacher so that your child is actually able to get much more better results in the long run?
Okay, so for me, I would advocate for early assessment, early intervention plans for a child, because let's say at least around by 6 months, you'll have known if a child has an issue or they don't have. Or rather, when you go to a hospital, nowadays, at least they give you cards so that you see the milestone of the child. So maybe I'll say, as a mother, you should be able to tick the milestone the child that has hit. So by 1 year, my child is able to do this and this, and my child has a deficit of this. So if, let's say, a child has a deficit of a milestone, it's important for them to be diagnosed early. So they are taken to an institution whereby they will individualize the program early and be able to help this child very early. Why am I saying early? I'm saying early because when a child is growing up, their brain is still young. So to take in information or to take in a skill, they'll be able to catch up with the others. So maybe, let's say, if a child was bring in at year 1 at a particular institution, maybe an institution like Bloom, they've been brought at 1, I think they will achieve more than a child who has been brought at 5 years. So they have wasted a lot of time gambling. Is this child not this? Because this child is not stagnant. They are growing. So as they are growing, the brain is also maturing. So they'll not get there, or rather their milestone will lag behind as this one who was brought at 1 year. So early intervention is very important.
We need to stop living in assumptions. I don't know if you have met people, okay, which is totally okay, because again, it is with that information that we are able to come to you with these as perspectives. Who told you I thought the child would just be okay. I think I'm painting a lot of sense to whatever you have just shared, because many parents assume that he will pick up. So by the time we notice, it is 5 years old. So I don't know what you have to say about 5 years old. You have 5 years old to start training a 1 year old or 2 year old objectives. Again, from experience, I don't know how your experience has been, but that is quite personal. If you do not mind, you could share how you, because I know you have worked with all these kids within all these age groups. Yeah, if you could help our viewers just understand what is the difference between taking a 5-year-old child through intervention. This is the first time they're coming to intervention, and a 2-year-old.
So I will say, you see, if you bring a 5-year-old, like this child has never been to school at all. They have not even interacted with the environment. They have not been stimulated in any way. I think a 5-year-old is still 1 year old without any intervention. You see, so this child is quite behind. So you have to cover a lot so as to reach his 5-year-old, and you cannot do that maybe in 1 year or 2 years. So it will take longer. So it will be in this 5, you're covering one until you reach 5 years. So by the time you're 5 years, this child again is 10 years. You see? Yeah.
But it also gives you a lot of work, right?
Yeah, it gives you a lot of work. And then you see also autism is in levels. So it also depends with the level of the child. So maybe this 5-year-old is at level 1 of autism. Maybe we'll say the Asperger. They will catch up very fast rather than level 3 and who is 5-year-old. That's when the 1 comes 10 years. So that's when the parents comes frustrated. And why is not my child doing this? Why have you not achieved this? And you said we will achieve this.
Wow, that is quite something. Let us take time to allow our children to go through early identification, that we can start intervention as early as possible. Not only from our own personal stories, but even from research. It has it all. That once you start working on these things quite early, the better for your child. And there are so many successful stories. We hope one day we'll be able to have some just speak to you, but as well, we still recommend and advocate for that as well. Madam Wangare, are we doing enough as a country as far as autism is concerned?
So first, let me just echo what Natalie said about early intervention. With autism, we are always rushing against time because we need to catch up with the delayed milestones. So getting back to my question, are we doing enough as a country? I think we've started somewhere. You remember earlier, autism was not recognized as a disability, but now it is. Actually, the Act 2010 identify autism as one of the disabilities that need to be supported when it comes to the tax exemptions. So that is one thing the country is doing. Also, people have come up and they are doing a lot of awareness. Parents, be it parents, even the government is really doing a good job, although we are not there yet. Most primary schools, if you walk around, most primary schools now have special needs classes in the typical school, which again was not there earlier. And that is why there was those delays of kids going to school as early as we would want them to be. So again, that's a plus. Also the funding, although it's again
not quite working.
It's not quite enough. I know they still need to do more when it comes to research, provision of the basic things that we need, the resources again. If you want good resources that can help learners with any type of special needs, again, you have to import. And those are things that we can get as a country. So we still need to kind of work faster. Other countries are running. So that is something we still need to do. But so far, so good.
Nice. Mr. Michael, much more than 10 years in your practice in this field. Where are we as a country?
I think, like Wangari has said, we are somewhere. The journey has begun. The journey has started. But just to echo Wangari's sentiments, we need to move faster. There's still a lot more that needs to be done to change the landscape. We still have a lot of people in our communities who wonder what autism is once you mention it. Or you try explaining and then they're like, you're talking about these kids who behave like they're not normal. So you find there's in the area of awareness, we really need to do so much so that we sensitize our communities on what autism entails, the challenges that people with autism go through, the challenges of parents of kids with autism, and all that they have to go through. So that is something that we really need to do. As a country, I still feel like levels of acceptance are still low because we still find kids with autism being denied access to so many things. Many of them are denied access to quality education. Many of them are denied access to what we consider as rights as far as now their typically developing peers are concerned. So those are some of the things that really need to be done at the community level and at the national level. There's Wangari saying, factoring in people with autism when it comes to even drafting of national policies and budgets. Kids with autism, especially when they become when they get to the school going age, they require a lot of accommodations in those schools. There's need for individualized support in schools. But now when you look at now the reality on the ground, and especially the reality in our schools, you still find a scenario where one teacher is given like 10 kids with autism to take care of. And in the end, because of the workload, it becomes counterproductive. So just looking at it from that perspective and understanding that people with autism or individuals with autism, students with autism, they require so much support in addition to what a typically developing child requires. So it's like we began the journey, but there's still a lot of shift that needs to happen, even in our minds, in our politics, or in our policies, in our governance structures, in our education system, when it comes to teacher training and all that, so that we if we do all those kind of things, of course, we will not see changes tomorrow, but in the next, say, 5 years, we'll be able to see like greater levels of acceptance. We'll see people embracing kids with autism more. We will see schools like making necessary adjustments so that they can create friendly environments for kids with autism. So I think the answer is the journey has started, but it's a long one.
Interesting. Wow. Allow me to get you back to some virtue questions. These are one answer question. What are some of the virtues you, as a practitioner and even for parents who are working with children with autism as well, what is one virtue you'd encourage them to have or to hold as far as working with these children is concerned? For me, I think patience speaks out for me because I feel that is something when we are approaching this. I know we would have other sessions, especially with these panelists again, but for me, patience will speak it out for me. I don't know what virtues you guys have. Wangari.
Love.
Oh, that one is a nice one.
For me, compassion. Because I can give an example. Because if a child bites you, will you bite back?
No.
It's actually not, that's abuse. That is child abuse as far as this field is concerned.
Yeah.
Let me know how
Well, for me, it's flexibility And flexibility because there's a friend of mine who used to tell me, if these kids don't change you, there's no way you can change them. So you have to be flexible in a way that you give them way, you know. You know that in most cases, they have right of way.
Yes.
So they change you so that now in return you can change them. So flexibility.
Wow.
Accommodation.
Yeah.
Well, I know we can go and go and go on and on, but I just wanted to bring that up because it is so important. The general population that is actually viewing and watching these episodes need to know that these children have some special need, and therefore that is why we need to understand that this is happening because of A, B, C, and D, which would just try to help us all understand these virtues mentioned here are so important. I think Natalie's got me on point because sometimes you're beaten, you know, you can't bite back. To us, that is child abuse, and we do not tolerate. You can't pinch back, you can't slap back, and things like those ones. So just knowing how to embrace them, to love them as they say it all, speaks it out as far as all this is concerned. Now, slowly and slowly drawing towards the end of this episode, I don't know what you'd love to share on our advocate at Bloom Garden Schools. I know we are in a country where right now we are speaking about inclusivity and just trying to accommodate the diverse perspectives of every human being. And that is why the special needs is quite something right now. So with regards to inclusivity and our pursuit for inclusivity and ensuring that we embrace the strengths of our children with autism, where are we as far as Bloom Garden Schools is actually concerned? For this one, you can start anywhere. Probably any volunteer who would love to go first. But anyway, if you don't mind, Mwalimu, can I start from you?
No worries.
Yes.
So at Bloom Garden Schools, we usually believe that because kids with autism have varied needs, like their needs are also a spectrum. The services we provide have to mirror the needs of the students we take care of.
Sure.
We also have to be awake to the fact that we cannot just use the same approaches and methodologies for each and every student.
Yes.
Being so versatile to understand that what this child requires is not what that child requires. So being informed by that to even a point of if you have like 5 students in a class, ensuring that every student is getting their own their own program that is tailor-made to the needs of to his or her needs. That's one thing. The other one is going down to the level of each and every student and believing that once you start with this student from his or her level, you can actually raise them up. As opposed to like, and this is actually closely pegged with you being able to understand each and every child that you're dealing with. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their preferences and all that? And once you understand that, being able to transform that and use all those strengths and weaknesses and all that to ensure that you now are able to make, to move them from one point to another. So we as an institution believe in each and every student, regardless of where they are, whether they are in level 1, level 2, or level 3. So long as we are able to go to their level, we can transform them through our positive actions.
Sure. Wow. We have anything else to add on that?
Just that that every child can learn.
Yes.
Yeah. So for us, it's for us to create an opportunity for them to learn through, again, the individualized lessons. Again, as he had said, going to his level. Number 3, if learning if he's not able to learn in class. Again, take him to where he can learn best, and that is what we do here at Bloom. And also a lot of play. I know they love play. So you cannot be too serious when you're teaching learners with autism. You have to be friendly. You need to learn how to play. If you had issues while you are coming to work, you have to leave them at the gate.
Yeah.
Because
And getting
yeah, yeah. So that is what we believe in.
yeah.
And also at Bloom, I also love how we make awareness.
Sure.
So making awareness is not only going out with your placards
Yeah.
and like walking through, but we are also making awareness like including caregivers in what we do daily. Yeah. Even those people who come inside, come to the school and they're not aware about autism. If you get 5 people and they get passionate, of course they'll go out there and make something out of what we taught them.
Yeah.
So at least that is our awareness and empowering, and it continues. It just doesn't stick at Bloom. I think that's a great approach as well.
Wow.
Yes.
I think that is excellent. I am always awed at the fact that we give children support. We speak to parents and give any person who is willing to get this information the support they require. And yes, we just keep trusting that we'll be able to continue with the same. And I think just to us who are watching us from wherever you are, we really appreciate that you actually was able to view this content and you've been able to sail through. We know there are so many causes. When you try and go to research, we know there are so many causes of autism and contributory factors. But that should not make you feel like you cannot reach out for help or seek out for help and know if there's anything that can be done as well. We believe that each individual, each child with special needs has a strength which, when clearly identified, can be mentored to become something of great impact even in this society. We know there are so many examples out here of people who are successful, people who have gained a skill and have been able to do something. And even here in our school, we have real-time examples of children who've been able to learn a skill and build it up. So do not fear to get them out and get them exposed so that they're able to get the necessary intervention that is required of them. With that said, we actually appreciate, again, allow me to say that you're actually viewing us from wherever you are. And we are Bloom Garden Schools. We are really glad that we're able to do this at this point in time. You can find us in Lavington along Mudangari Road. That is where we are located in Bloom Garden Autism Academy. We have a number of branches, either in Kileleshwa and along Neri Road and along Gatanga Road. You'll be able to get the necessary help you require. But when you get to Bloom Garden Schools, of course, we will be able to advise you further. Therefore, we appreciate that you have been able to watch this video. Please do not forget to subscribe to this video, like and comment these videos, because that will keep us going. It will also guide us on what we're able to get to you even in our next episodes. Thank you so much for viewing. See you in our next episode. Bye.